Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time most favorite, most wonderful, most best host of all time, Jen Albanese. Hi, Jen.
Hello, Maury. How are you? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast.
I am very excited to have a former intern of mine that
I know.
an energetic, like just life of the party guy, Arek Olson. I remember us all cramming. We crammed into that one office all together. We took shifts. They didn't even work all at the same time because we just couldn't fit in the space.
I think you had like 10 people in there at one point.
It's been crazy. The moment I got to move out of that space, my whole world opened up.
Oh my God, I feel the same way.
Yeah, you recently.
I feel the same way.
Well, with that, Arek has brought on this awesome role as he is the first ever assistant AD for events at Nebraska. So,
which is so cool that he gets to like start a department basically.
The inaugural position.
Yeah, very cool.
So question I have for you is, what is the best event that you ever got to work?
Oh, that's a tough one. We've gotten the opportunity, and I will say, like, we always talk about like the challenges and stuff with our job, but we also, it's very, very cool. Like our job is very cool and we have some really great experiences that we get to be a part of. And we're very lucky in that sense. And we've gotten to work. I mean, obviously we've been in the industry for a while now. Let's not make us sound that old, but we've worked at a lot of cool events. If I had to pick one, you want me to pick one?
Yes.
Well, I'll just do something in like recent memory. I would say, so we just came up on the 20th anniversary of our men's basketball national championship. So won the national championship in 2003 here at Syracuse. I was a senior in high school at the time, and it was like the biggest thing that's ever happened in the town. So fast forward, obviously 20 years now I work there. So to be able to be a part of, we did an event that was like a rewatch of the national championship game with the players from that team and Coach Boeheim and everything. So to be able to be a part of that and then recognizing them at a basketball game like the next day and having Carmelo there and Jerry McNamara and Hakeem Warwick and guys that obviously went on to do incredible things in the NBA and obviously in the world of sports in general, but to be a part of that and like get to meet those guys and be a part of that celebration when 20 years ago I was like the fan watching it, like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. And then now I'm doing it. So that to me, again, most recent memory was probably the coolest event for me that kind of came full circle. But what about you?
So the one that sticks out in my head, so years ago we did a concert about that basically it was a way for the Dalai Lama. They were raising money for I think it was Tibet, and there was this huge concert, and all these famous artists. It was hosted by Whoopi Goldberg, and all these famous artists were coming. And I've never worked anything like that in my life because Pete Sala, who clearly everyone knows who's ever been around Syracuse, knows that name. Had the challenge of trying to fit like 20 dressing rooms into the dome. Like we were building dressing rooms in every single nook and cranny of that building. And we had, and it was like the biggest range of artists. Like, the Black Crowes were there, but then there was like, there was older acts, like people, like I think like one of the Osmonds was there. And then we had Neil Diamond, and like there was just all these famous people. And then I also remember that there was a big deal because the Dalai Lama was there and he had really big, like he had the most security of anyone in the whole thing, though. We had these big name acts. And I remember that I had to get background checked because we were going to get his chair out on stage. And that my biggest background check, and I've done a lot of background checks, was to go with the federal government so that I could bring out the Dalai Lama's chair. So like, to me, that always is like, and like, I'm sure that I'm missing a lot of the details, but it was one of those crazy events that I don't know if I'll ever work again in my life, but it was really cool.
Yeah, that's so unique. I remember when that was at the Dome, and just the most unique event I've ever seen or heard of or been. Like I just went to it as a fan, but yeah, insane. Very, very cool. Very different.
And I've been behind the scenes for a lot of events, a lot of concerts. That one, like, we'll never forget. I think I also had to order all the furniture. So I remember like tons and tons of furniture having to come in and where it was going, where we were moving it, and like just trying to fit it all in the building. So that was my big memory. And I'm sure Eric is having to do very similar things in his role in Nebraska. So we'll be excited to hear from him after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
I very much would like to. This is a gentleman that I know pretty well. He was an intern of mine, so this is very exciting for me. Today's guest has built a career turning campus venues into premier event destinations. Originally from Wellsville, New York, he began as a student athlete playing basketball at Keuka and Cazenovia College, where he earned his degree in summa cum laude. He went on to complete his master's at Syracuse University, gaining hands-on experience in event operations and facilities, changeovers with the Carrier Dome as well. From there, he took on leadership roles at Lehigh University, managing large events, teams, and facilities before joining the University of Arkansas in 2021. Over 4 years with the Razorbacks, he helped launch major first-time events like concerts, conventions, and arena shows, while also improving internal systems and serving as part of the NCAA Gymnastics Regional host team. Now in 2025, he steps into a new chapter as the Assistant Athletic Director of Special Events at Nebraska, leading strategy and execution of concerts, corporate functions, and more. He's also working towards his doctorate at Eastern Tennessee State University, all while being a dedicated family man, loving sports, music, and the outdoors. Very well excited to welcome Arek Olson to the podcast. Welcome, Arek.
Wow.
Hi, Eric.
That was a lot there. That was a mouthful, and it's not nearly as exciting as Maury makes it out to be.
No, I've been.
Yes, it is.
Listen,
Yes, it is.
Every step I've been impressed, Arek. You've jumped from different places and have just grown your career, which is so exciting. And I've loved watching you go to all these different great places and make a name for yourself. So I think it's awesome.
Well, I thank you for that. And I'm super happy and excited to be here.
Awesome.
We're excited to have you. Thank you for doing this. We appreciate it.
Well, we'd love to hear your first trip. I know a tip. You've done some great things in Nebraska. I know that you're the first one to ever be in that role. So it's pretty cool. So we're really looking forward to what you have to tell everybody.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think I'll start with, this podcast is awesome. What you guys are doing for young professionals trying to come up in the sport industry is amazing. And so this is a great resource. I really hope people are taking advantage of this. I know that I'm listening every now and again. It's super awesome.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
My first tip is one, and again, there have been so many awesome leaders that have come through this podcast. And so apologies if there's some duplicates. Obviously, if they are duplicates, then they are probably pretty important to know and understand. So without further ado, my first one is bring people along with you. Give back, right? So I think as I was learning and as I was coming up in my journey, starting really at Cazenovia, but then at Syracuse is where I really got some good hands-on experience. There were many people that were there to teach me things. There have been so many individuals that have taught me so much in my career that, I've always wanted to give back to them, give back to people that are coming up, with me. So, that's my first tip. Honestly, it's pretty straightforward and pretty basic, but I think, I've gotten to where I've gotten in my career because of people like Maury, because of people like Alex Parent, because of people like, Patrick Dale at Arkansas, which I've learned so much about the special events industry from him in my 4 years there that really, who I am today is kind of a product of those people that brought me along the way. And so my job as a leader and what I'm learning in school right now is to really bring folks along with me and try and teach them as we go throughout setting up for different events. I try to be a servant leader. So as I'm doing things, I'm doing them with them. I'm showing them and telling them why we do things, because that's ultimately the best way to give back. And then you've got, different instances like this where you can hop on a podcast and talk industry and talk shop, and that ultimately is a form of giving back as well. So I never shy away from getting on the phone with somebody who cold calls me or directly emails me to try and give back to them, because at the end of the day, that's what what people did for me when I was trying to break in. And so that ultimately is my first tip, I think, and it's an important one. My second tip is a little bit, it goes on a different tangent about adversity. I think that, look, in this industry, sports, college athletics, you name it, there's going to be adversity involved. There's going to be hardship. There's going to be times where it's difficult, and you question what you're doing. You question, just everything. And so, how do you respond? Right. I often ask myself, how am I going to react to the situation? This is not a great situation. How am I going to respond? And that's ultimately what makes us professionals, I think, right? Like when we think about everything that we can do or whatever, that's all great. That, to me, that pales in comparison to like when something's happening and it's like, it's not a great situation. How do you react and how do you respond? I'm a big fan of, and again, guys, jump in here and ask questions or else I'm just going to start rattling. But, kind of, go ahead.
No, I was going to go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
Go.
No,
I was going to say adversity. I feel like, that right now I'm in that season of like, we've had some challenges, where kind of I'm at on some different areas, whether it's staffing or dealing with some difficulties with some students. But like, it's so, you're so right. It's all about how you respond to that. Because, if you're in a leadership role, that's what people are looking at, is how you're responding and how you can turn it into something that's either positive or a learning opportunity for not only yourself, but the people also involved. So adversity, I think people look at that and kind of shy away from it, like shy away from like the confrontations or the issues. But I think sometimes that's where you grow the most in something that you might not have been dealing with. So I can relate to that. I feel like right now a lot. And I try to catch myself, like whether I'm in the situation or somebody's talking to me about something, I try to think like, what's the best way for me to react to this so that it shows that I'm being professional, that I'm trying to find the best solution. How do I keep everybody calm? Because I think sometimes people get really amped up and it's sometimes you got to take them down a little bit. So I think that's really good. And nobody's really said that about like adversity and like how you respond to that. So I think that's really a good one. So
I was thinking too, how that connects to the first one. Like a lot of times when I'm in that situation, I try and think of those people that mentored me and how they've dealt with things like that. And it's a very interesting, and whether for good or for bad, right? Like sometimes you think about it and be like, oh, I remember them dealing with that and it didn't turn out as well for them. And I kind of learned from that, or more so than not, usually like, oh, I've really learned that by addressing things this way, by seeing those people that have mentored me and helped me, this is a way that you can deal with that. And that can give you some confidence in those times where you're overwhelmed. It's like, how can you lean on those things that you've seen before when it's kind of scary for yourself and how you're dealing through it. And you don't have to feel like you're alone with that because you've seen other people in a similar situation and how they've been able to get through those things. So I think that's a great tip. And I agree with Jen, not one that we've heard very much of. So
yeah. See, there you go. Nice job.
and when you take a step back and look at it more holistically about like maybe your career, or maybe like you're at a place where you may be struggling, or you may not know, where to go next or what to do next. I'm a big fan of like controlling your own destiny. Like if there's a situation that's not going well for you, like just be in control of what you can control. Exactly. and take advantage of different relationships that you might have built. Take advantage of situations where I'm a big fan of like everything happens for a reason. And so, if you want to change your situation, you got to turn around and point the finger directly at yourself and figure out what you got to do to make it right for you and your family or whomever. So I think that's a big thing to think about too when you're thinking about like career moves or like how to jump into the career like path or how to get started. It's like it starts with you. It starts totally 100% internally. There's
Correct.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You've got to start with yourself.
100%.
Awesome.
I love that.
Okay. Right. Wait, number 3?
3. We're at number 3.
No,
yes.
Number 3. And this one is going to take a little bit longer. That's why I saved.
No, you're good.
Pretty quickly.
That's good. No, that's good.
Number 3. I owe number 3 to my entire career. It's all about relationships and networking. And I know people that are listening are probably like, I've heard relationships and networking 1,000 times. I get it. But I will tell you that I am another living, breathing example of how incredibly important relationships and networking are to getting into the industry, to advancing in the industry, to gaining knowledge, to learning. It's incredibly important. I'll give a couple of stories. My first story obviously starts in Syracuse, at Syracuse University. Working for Maury as one of the interns in event ops and facility ops, and that's where I learned so much at such a young age. And I was so green and so fresh, and I learned a lot by trial and error and fire and everything. But at the end of the day, I needed to try and make some more ends meet. I needed to try and continue to grow. I think it was a part-time role. I think I was capped at like 20 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I was so eager to just continue doing more. And so, I don't know how it happened, Maury, but I ended up getting on Don Familo's announcer list or whatever.
Yep.
As like
100%.
And Don got me rolling with all these different gigs across central New York doing public address announcing. And I ended up driving up to Hamilton, New York a lot, being the public address announcer for Colgate Athletics. And that was where I met through the years, through the year plus that I was there. I met Jamie Mitchell, and he was basically your counterpart there, Maury, at Colgate. And I'm like, dude, Jamie, I want to break into the industry. I want to get a position just like yours someday. How do I do it? And of course, I had Maury in my back pocket, but sometimes, like you gotta branch out. You gotta branch out.
Jamie, Jamie's a good guy. I've always loved Jamie.
Yep. And so I was like, Jamie, can we just, maybe before one of these basketball games that I'm about to work, can we just sit down or afterwards or whatever for 30 minutes and can you look at my resume and give me some tips and tricks, right? And so he's like, absolutely, sure. So we sit down, we talk and everything, and he sees how eager I am, and you guys know how eager and positive and optimistic I am about this industry. And he knew that I had what it took to break in, and it was through that relationship that he really had the trust. Obviously, I was showing up and doing the play-by-play, or not play, the PA announcing for men's basketball, women's basketball. I did some soccer for him. So he knew that working relationship was there already. He knew that I had what it took. And then when push came to shove, I was applying to jobs. Nothing was really hitting for me. If you'll recall, I flew out to a school out in California, and that one didn't work out. And all of a sudden, a job at Lehigh opened up at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is obviously in the Patriot League. And so I called Jamie and I was like, dude, like, do you happen to know the hiring manager? Like, would you be able to put a word in? And he did. And he's like, absolutely no problem at all. Puts the word in. Next thing you know, I have an interview. Next thing you know, I'm on campus for the interview. And I feel like once I can get in person, I've got a really good shot.
You're ready to go.
I'm not the best on
you can
on
sell
Zoom
yourself.
or phone, but you can sell yourself. And so that's what happened. And I got that interview. And that was my first full-time role. And that was huge for me. That was huge.
I remember when you got it. I was so excited for you. I remember you calling me up and saying, hey, I'm going to Lehigh. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yep. That was just incredible. And I learned a lot there at Lehigh. And so again, without going outside of my comfort zone and being okay with being a PA announcer, like I really hadn't done a ton of PA announcing to that point. I just thought that like, that's something that I'd like to do. I just did it, got out of my comfort zone, driving up to Hamilton, New York, and sure enough, it paid off. And that was the best 45-minute one-way drive of my life, every men's basketball game. And so, it really,
there you go, all to awesome, Don awesome Familo.
yeah, I owe it to Don. Got on that list, man. Is he still doing that? Like,
he's still doing it. He's keeping the list going. We live and die by that list.
It's incredible. That's incredible. I love that. And then of course, like my job now is a product of relationships. I mean, there's somebody on the event management team that knew me. We had a prior relationship, and he's like, dude, we're starting this unit up. Like, you'd be the perfect fit. And like, there I was. Like, the interview process was a breeze because, a lot of it was already vetted. So, anyway, relationships are huge, and I can't stress that enough. That's important. People will remember who you are. People will remember the impact that you leave on a university. When you leave there, whether you're retired or whether you're taking another job or whether you're just getting out of the industry, they're going to remember you. And, for good, for bad, or indifferent, they're going to remember you. So it's all about, the stamp that you leave on your time there.
I mean, the one thing I have to say is like, you're definitely, by building relationships, like people don't understand when you're building a new unit and you don't have anybody and you're starting from scratch, the fact that you have the trust that someone says, hey, we're going to invest in you and have you come out to help us build this is such a amazing thing, and shows a lot of credit to you that you can build those relationships, have people have faith in you. And then that leads into a position and a whole unit that's built around, you're being there and supporting them. So it gives you a lot of credit. That's awesome.
And I know you said that people say relationships all the time, but I think it's good to continue to say it to people, and you can show proof that relationships helped you get to where you are. And I think if people are listening and they hear that over and over again, and it's the success stories of, hey, I met this person here. This is how I got connected here. This is how this person in my network helped me. It just proves over and over again how important it is.
And it doesn't stop after you're a student or you're an intern, and whether or not it ends up being for a job or just to be able to call someone up and be like, hey, how do you deal with this, or what's going on? That is so huge that people don't realize, to have that network of people that you can reach out to and ask questions for things and help, especially, kind of the farther up you get, you're used to having people, above you give you advice and help you. But once you hit a certain level, you're looking to your peers to give you information and help you. And that's a totally different thing. So, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. My goal was to be really, really good at networking. That was my goal in relationships. And I think I'm succeeding at that. So I think
you're killing it.
Should take a page. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. With that, number four.
All right. Number four, it's all about knowing yourself and knowing what works for you. This was one that I really learned at Arkansas. This industry is very, very demanding. I got pushed to limits at Arkansas I didn't even know that I could fathom. I was working 80, 90-hour weeks at some points. And when you start to work that much, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how to be efficient with your time. When you become a father or a mother, you learn a lot about how to be efficient with your time. And so, Arkansas taught me just so much about knowing what works for you and being sure to replicate that consistently so that you can put out a consistent professional product each day. I think that's huge and something that I wish I learned a little bit sooner. And that's not my point for my fifth tip, but I just wish that I understood, how to be consistent, earlier in my career. I think at Arkansas, it really taught me because I had to know what works for me, what doesn't. And I'll give you an example. I am not a morning person. No matter how hard I try, consistently I'm not a morning person. And so now I purposefully don't schedule things at 8 a.m. anymore. I just don't. Yeah. I give myself that time to get to work by 8:30 every day. That's a small little example. But again, it's all about setting yourself up for success, right? And the only person that can 100%. Do that is you. And so it's a small tip, but it makes a difference in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about how you use your time. You think about it, I mean, the most successful people rarely sleep, right? But like mentally sane people sleep. And so, if you're sleeping 6-7 hours at minimum, hopefully, you really only have, I'm not really good at math, whatever, 12, 15 hours or whatever left in your day. That's terrible math, whatever it is, left in your day to spend. And so how do you spend those waking moments? And like, I've gotten really good at dissecting every hour and making sure I'm spending it how I should be, that resonates and best works with my schedule and who I am as a person. That's incredibly important. And if you don't know yourself, you're never going to figure it out. You have to know yourself. You have to know what works well for you. You have to know if you're a morning person, if you're a night person, if you know you can get stuff done during the lunch hour, or if you need to have your lunch break or whatever. Like, again, little things like this add up to a larger scale picture of who you are as a professional. And so, that's something that I've learned really over the last 4 or 5 years of my career that has resonated and translated a lot, at least in these first 3 months in Nebraska.
That's great. I mean, it's like setting those boundaries of where you can be the most successful. Like you said, you're not a morning person, like then you're not doing an 8 a.m. meeting because that meeting isn't going to be successful. So like knowing those things and being able to continue to, and you do that early on in your career, I think that really helps people. And it's that, like they said, it's that boundary of, okay, I know that I need, I've done this as becoming a mom, like, okay, between like 5 and 8, like I'm with my kids, I'm doing dinner, I'm doing bath, we're going to bed. And like that email at 7:15, if I don't answer that right then, it's not going to end the world, So it's realizing that and being able to like set those boundaries early on, which helps you be successful in the long run. So I love that tip.
Yeah. I mean, that tip. There's so many different things you start figuring out that works better. Like, and even as you get older, you start looking at things like I've realized, like when I do a short workout in the morning, it makes me in like a better position to like focus. And I didn't think that was going to be the case. I'm like, oh, someone said, hey, you should try doing this. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. I'm just going to do it to like be healthy. But now I realize like, hey, when I get into work, I'm able to focus a little bit better. And I'm not like kind of, I kind of have my juices flowing for the day. Or kind of like Jen said, like sometimes I always felt when I was young, like I have to answer an email right away. If someone sends it to me, I have to write it instantly. And I've learned like, okay, when I read an email and I have certain feelings about the email and I'm frustrated or like sometimes it's much better to just take a breath and say, hey, you know what? This isn't going anywhere. So I'm going to stop. Maybe I'll write a couple notes to myself because it's what's in my head. And I'll just put that to the side of my inbox and then come back later and send it out when I kind of have more clarity to something. But that's not something I did early on in my career because I thought, oh, I have to answer this right away. And you start learning those boundaries for yourself and how important it is to like be able to function and be able to be the best version of yourself. And, I kind of have those memories too, like how you said, like pushing yourself at Arkansas. I can remember being in the dome at times and just not leaving for days at a time. And for good or for bad, that taught me a lot about myself. And it really like makes you be critical and think about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And all the props to those people that can do it all the time. But I was like, you know what? The more I kind of changed around my lifestyle and realized like, hey, that's not the best way for me to function. And I learned that later. I got to start putting things in a way that I felt like I was being able to be more successful. So no, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Such a good one. Okay. Are we ready for the last one? All right. So Eric, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
Yeah, this one was kind of one that ever since Maury invited me on this podcast, I thought a lot about it. I gave a lot of reflection. I did because I think it's important. I think this is a huge part of the podcast. I feel like because if I'm sitting 10 years ago in some of these students' shoes that may be listening, this is what I'm tuning in for because I'm getting my ears sonar version, getting these ears ready for this tip. Truthfully, I think it's just the how vast the industry is and how big and large some of these organizations are. And I'll dive into it a little bit because I think that's way too vague. So I think that like when I was coming up, when you're so naive and you're tunnel vision and you're just trying to get that college credit to finish your degree. And sure, you may have heard buzzwords like networking and relationships or whatever, and you know what you're trying to do, but you're so tunnel visioned and focused on what you're doing, that task, that you have no idea how large scale it is. Like Syracuse's operation, obviously compared to Lehigh's operation, is it's huge, monumental. It's incredibly larger than a Lehigh or an FCS or a D2 or D3 or a Colgate even, right? But even at those institutions, there are things that are happening that the networks and the communication chains and the different vendors that you work with and the events that you do, and there's just so big and broad, the different people that you interact with, the different personalities that you might have to manage. I just wish that I knew that no matter what, you don't know everything, and it's never done. Like it's never completed. Work is never done. You're never going to be like, you have to be okay with like being able to set down work for that day and just picking it up tomorrow, because guess what? It's always going to be there. And I think that I needed to hear that when I was younger, because I get to a job, say at Arkansas or even here at Nebraska, and it's just, there are endless amounts of nooks and crannies to the facilities, to the events that we're planning, to the staff itself, 315 plus staff members, to the temp workers, all the vendors that you deal with. The list goes on and on. And when you think you have everything figured out, guess what? You don't.
And
so
you never will.
You have to be a lifelong learner. And that's what I wish I knew going into it. And I think I've kind of continued to have that mindset of like, I don't think I know it all. I never want to give off the vibes that I know it all. I'm very passionate about the industry, so I may come off as super excited about something, but like you never know it all, and you have to continue to learn and grow and stretch your boundaries. And again, I always teach my students this as they're working for me. Eric, we're all set up for tomorrow. We're all ready. And I always ask them, are you ready? Like, are you?
Yeah.
Because there's always something else that you're missing. Even if you think you're ready for an event, there's always something else. And my favorite quote is, it's not the will to win, but it's the will to prepare to win that makes a difference. It's all about preparation. And so if you have detailed preparation and you focus on the preparation and the detail every single time, good things will happen. But there's always going to be something out there that you may not be tracking on. It may be a curveball that you've never seen before. It may be something. You just have to be ready for it in the moment. But there's always something that you haven't thought about. And that's what I wish I knew going into it.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I realize I know how little I know. Like, it's like kind of a crazy thing. Like the older you get, the more you realize like there's no way to know it all. And it's kind of like you said, it's like, have you got everything? It's to be able to develop that skill, to be able to be adaptable, to be thinking ahead of things, to be able to deal with that stuff. And if you're a young person and you're like, oh, I think I understand everything, then you definitely don't. No. Like if you're not humble about it, you definitely don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to know everything. And I think that's okay. And to accept that and be okay with that and just be willing to learn, because this industry is ever changing. It's never the same. It isn't the same from 2 years ago. It's not going to be the same in 2 years. So to be always willing to learn. I love that one. Eric, so good. So good. I love it.
I tried, guys. I tried.
No, you did a good job.
You did so good.
Eric, we're so proud of you. You're killing it. I mean, just to be out in Nebraska doing what you're doing, and all the events, and I know how hard that is, so we give you so much credit. It is not an easy thing from day to day to have to, go through and deal with all that. So we're super excited for you, and having a little one, having a little girl is so great. Like, we're just
so exciting.
It's so awesome to see you thriving. So thanks so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. We know people are going to get a lot out of it from you.
Yes, this
no
was
problem,
great.
guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for listening, and make sure that you're following us on all our socials at AthCareerPod and listening on all your podcast platforms and rating and reviewing and liking everything. And new episodes drop every Tuesday. So thanks for listening, and thank you, Eric.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.